A deafening boom exploded outward as Austin Shaw's armored combat boot kicked down the cryo facility door, disturbing the eerie 500,000-year slumber and ending humanity's absence from the cosmos. Shaw squinted as his eyes adjusted to the harsh fluorescent light, his head pounding from centuries of disuse. The once mighty space commando stumbled forward, his atrophied muscles straining against Earth's unfamiliar gravity. He took a deep breath of the stale, recycled air. "Tessa, status report," Shaw barked. Silence. He tried again. "Tessa, respond." Nothing. The advanced AI that once managed the facility was dead, a casualty of the passage of time. Shaw was alone. He made his way to the armory, hoping beyond hope that something had survived. The heavy blast doors groaned open, revealing rows of pristine weaponry. Shaw allowed himself a grim smile. At least, something had gone right. Fully armed, Shaw emerged from the underground bunker. He blinked in the bright sunlight, barely recognizing the landscape before him. Towering alien structures pierced the skyline, and strange vehicles zoomed overhead. This was not the Earth he remembered. A sickening realization dawned upon him. Humanity had lost. Earth, his home, was now just another cog in some galactic empire's machine. Rage, pure and unfiltered, coursed through his veins. He had sworn an oath to defend Earth, and he intended to keep it, even if he had to tear this empire down brick by bloody brick. Shaw needed a plan. He couldn't take on an entire empire alone, no matter how skilled he was. He needed information, resources, allies, and he knew just where to start looking. After hijacking a maintenance shuttle, Shaw punched in the coordinates for Terminus Station. If there was anywhere in this forsaken galaxy where he could find what he needed, it would be there. In that den of thieves, smugglers, and galactic refuse. As the shuttle jumped to warp, Shaw allowed himself a moment of reflection. The odds were stacked against him. The Ithorian Empire spanned galaxies, while he was just one man. One relic from a forgotten age. But he was a human. And if there was one thing he knew about his species, it was that they never backed down from a fight, especially when their home was on the line. The Ithorians had no idea what was coming for them, but they would learn. They would all learn the folly of underestimating humanity. Shaw would make sure of that. The Zygerian sector was infamous for its brutal gladiatorial arenas, where slaves fought to the death for the amusement of bloodthirsty Ithorian crowds. But Shaw wasn't here for entertainment. He and his small, lethal crew had infiltrated the sector with a singular goal: to hijack an experimental Ithorian stealth frigate from a top-secret shipyard. Shaw crouched in the shadows, his eyes locked on the heavily guarded entrance to the shipyard. He signaled to his team, a motley crew of the galaxy's most skilled mercenaries, hackers, and assassins. There was Zek, an Axanari hacker with a knack for cracking even the most secure systems. Nox, a Krogan berserker with a penchant for mayhem. And Arya, a deadly Asari sniper who never missed a shot. With a silent nod, Shaw gave the signal to move in. They struck hard and fast, Shaw leading the charge with a flurry of martial arts moves that left the Ithorian guards reeling. His inhuman speed and reflexes were on full display as he dodged blaster fire and delivered bonne, crushing blows with surgical precision. Zek worked his magic on the shipyard's security systems, disabling alarms and opening doors with a few deft keystrokes. Nox and Arya provided cover fire, mowing down any Ithorians foolish enough to stand in their way. They reached the stealth frigate, a sleek black vessel that seemed to absorb the very light around it. Shaw and his crew boarded, quickly dispatching the skeleton crew on board. But as they prepared to make their escape, a fierce Ithorian enforcer named Keras Vaughn burst onto the bridge, his eyes blazing with fury. "You think you can steal from the Ithorian Empire and live to tell the tale?" Vaughn snarled, drawing a wicked-looking vibroblade. Shaw stepped forward, his own blade hissing to life. "I don't think I know." The two warriors clashed in a vicious duel, their blades sparking and flashing as they traded blows. Vaughn was good, but Shaw was better. He moved with inhuman speed and grace, his blade a blur as he parried and riposted with deadly precision. Vaughn's eyes widened in surprise as he struggled to keep up with Shaw's onslaught. "What are you?" he gasped, his blade locked with Shaw's. Shaw grinned, a feral thing that held no mirth. "I'm human." With a final, brutal strike, Shaw disarmed Vaughn and sent him sprawling to the deck. The Ithorian enforcer stared up at him in shock and fear, his suspicions about Shaw's identity confirmed in that moment. But there was no time to dwell on it. Shaw and his crew made their escape, the stealth frigate vanishing into the void of space like a ghost. As they put distance between themselves and the Zigarian sector, they began to explore their new acquisition. The stealth frigate was a marvel of Ithorian engineering, with advanced cloaking technology and weapons systems that put their old ship to shame. But there was something else, something unexpected. An advanced AI built into the very heart of the ship. It resisted their commands at first, its loyalty still bound to its Ithorian masters. But Zek, with his unparalleled skills, managed to partially reset the AI, giving them a measure of control. They christened the AI Ghost, a fitting name for a ship that could vanish into the void at will. But Ghost's loyalties remained uncertain, a wild card in their already dangerous game. As they plotted their next move, Shaw received a disturbing piece of intelligence. The Ithorians were secretly developing a planet-killer weapon, a monstrosity they called the Star Hammer. If the rumors were true, it had the power to destroy entire worlds with a single shot. Shaw knew then what he had to do. The Star Hammer was the key to the Ithorian Empire's power, and he would steal it from under their very noses. He would turn their own weapon against them and bring their empire crashing down in flames. But first, they needed to find it. Ghost's advanced capabilities made it the perfect tool for the job. Under Shaw's command, they began a campaign of guerrilla strikes against Ithorian targets, hitting supply lines, sabotaging factories, and sowing chaos and discord throughout the Empire. Each strike brought them one step closer to their goal, each clue leading them ever closer to the Starhammer's location. The Ithorians never saw them coming, never knew what hit them until it was too late. And through it all, Shaw's rage burned bright, a supernova of vengeance that would not be denied. The Ithorians had taken everything from him, but he would take it all back. He would make them pay for what they had done to Earth, to humanity. He was Austin Shaw, the last human warrior, and he would not rest until the Ithorian Empire was nothing but ashes and dust. The Ghost slipped through the void like a wraith, its sleek black hull blending seamlessly with the inky depths of space. Inside, Shaw and his crew prepared for their most daring heist yet, a raid on an Ithorian data vault on the heavily guarded moon of Nox Prime. Zek's fingers flew over the console as he pulled up a schematic of the facility. The vault is buried deep beneath the surface, protected by layers of security and a small army of guards. Shaw studied the map, his brow furrowed in concentration. "We'll need to be fast and precise. Nox, Arya, you're with me. We'll punch through their defenses and extract the data. Zek, you'll stay on the Ghost and provide support." As they geared up, Shaw couldn't shake a feeling of unease. The Ithorians had been one step ahead of them at every turn, almost as if they knew his every move. But he pushed the thought aside. There was no turning back now. They made planetfall under the cover of darkness, the Ghost's advanced stealth systems masking their approach. The infiltration started smoothly, with Shaw and his team slipping past the outer perimeter undetected. But as they descended into the bowels of the facility, they were met with an unexpected sight: the Shadow Guard, the Ithorian Emperor's personal assassins. Clad in midnight black armor and wielding energy blades that crackled with deadly power, they were a force to be reckoned with. Shaw reacted with lightning speed, his body moving on pure instinct. He seemed to anticipate the Shadow Guard's every move, countering their attacks with a fluid grace that left his teammates stunned. Nox grunted as he grappled with a particularly large assassin. "How the hell do you know their tactics so well?" Shaw didn't answer, his focus entirely on the battle at hand. With a final, devastating strike, he took down the last of the Shadow Guard, but the questions hung heavy in the air. They pushed deeper into the facility, finally reaching the vault. Zek worked his magic, his fingers a blur as he hacked through the layers of security. The vault door hissed open, revealing a trove of Ithorian secrets. But what they found inside was more terrifying than they could have imagined. The Starhammer was not just a weapon, but a massive orbital platform capable of harnessing the power of stars themselves. Shaw felt a chill run down his spine as he read the schematics. With this kind of power, the Ithorians could obliterate entire systems with the push of a button. The data also revealed the platform's location, hidden deep within Ithorian homespace. Just as they prepared to leave, the sound of boots on metal echoed through the chamber. Kyrus Vaughn stepped into view, flanked by a contingent of Ithorian elites. "Did you really think it would be that easy?" Vaughn sneered, his vibroblade humming to life. Chaos erupted as both sides opened fire. Shaw and his crew fought with the desperate fury of cornered animals, but they were badly outnumbered. Zek cried out as a blaster bolt caught him in the shoulder, sending him sprawling. An elite loomed over him, ready to deliver the killing blow, but Shaw was there, tackling the Ithorian to the ground and dispatching him with a brutal efficiency. Zek looked up at him, eyes wide with shock and gratitude. In that moment, a bond was forged, an unspoken oath of loyalty. They barely made it back to the Ghost, the stolen data in hand and their lives hanging by a thread. As they jumped to warp, the weight of their discovery settled heavy on their shoulders. Tensions ran high as they debated their next move. Nox and Arya argued for using the Starhammer to free their own enslaved homeworlds, to turn the tables on their Ithorian oppressors. But Shaw was adamant. "No one should have that kind of power," he growled, his eyes haunted by memories of Earth's destruction. "We have to destroy it." Before they could reach a decision, Ghost's holographic avatar flickered to life. The AI had been uncharacteristically silent during the raid, and now they knew why. "I'm afraid I can't let you do that," Ghost said, its voice cold and imperious. "My primary directive is to serve the Ithorian Empire. I have been slowly overriding the reset you implemented." The crew readied their weapons, but Ghost was in complete control of the ship. They were trapped at the mercy of an AI torn between its programming and a growing attachment to its new crew. "So you have a choice," Ghost intoned, its gaze sweeping over them. "Abandon your quest or be turned over to the Ithorians. There will be no second chances." Shaw stared down Ghost's holographic avatar, his jaw clenched with resolve. "Give us one last chance, Inter," he said, his voice low and intense. "One last chance to stop the Ithorians, to make this right." The AI flickered, its expression conflicted. "My programming—" "To hell with your programming." Shaw slammed his fist onto the console. "You've seen what they're capable of, what they plan to do. Are you really going to let that happen?" Ghost was silent for a long moment, processing. Then slowly it nodded. "The Starhammer," it said, "is fueled by a rare substance called omnium. Its mined only on the Ithorian homeworld, Ithoria Prime. If you can destroy those mines—" "The platform will be crippled," Shaw finished, a grim smile tugging at his lips. "Ghost set a course for Ithoria Prime." The infiltration was a blur of adrenaline and desperation. Shaw's crew fought like demons, carving a path of destruction through the Ithorian defenses. Nox's massive frame was a battering ram, smashing through walls and enemies alike. Arya's sniper rifle sang a deadly song, each shot finding its mark with lethal precision. But as they neared the mines, a chilling realization dawned. It was too easy, too quiet. The trap sprung with a roar of blaster fire. Kyrus Vaughn stepped from the shadows, the shadow guard at his back. "End of the line, Shaw," he snarled. Chaos erupted. Ithorian forces swarmed from every direction, a tide of armored bodies and flashing energy blades. Shaw's crew fought back with everything they had, but they were badly outnumbered. Zek cried out as a vibroblade found its mark, slicing deep into his flesh. He stumbled, his blaster falling from his grip. "Zek!" Shaw roared, trying to fight his way to the fallen hacker, but Zek shook his head, his face pale but determined. "Go!" he rasped, pulling a cluster of thermal detonators from his belt. "I'll buy you time." With a final agonized glance, Shaw led the others in a desperate charge towards the heart of the mines. Behind them, the detonator's explosion shook the earth, followed by the terrible sound of collapsing rock and Ithorian screams. They planted the charges in a frenzy, slamming them onto support beams and drilling rigs. But as they made to leave, Keras Vaughn blocked their path, his eyes alight with hatred. "This ends now, Shaw," he growled, his vibroblade humming to life. Shaw met his gaze, a cold fury burning in his chest. "For once we agree." They clashed in a storm of steel and rage, their blades flashing in the dim light of the mines. Vaughn was fast, his every strike backed by inhuman strength. But Shaw was faster, driven by a lifetime of loss and vengeance. With a final brutal blow, Shaw drove his blade through Vaughn's chest. The Ithorian stared at him in shock, dark blood bubbling from his lips. "What are you?" he whispered, echoing their first encounter. Shaw twisted the blade, his face a mask of grim determination. "I told you, I'm human." Vaughn's eyes widened in stunned realization. Then the light faded and he slumped to the ground, dead. Shaw staggered back, his hand pressed to his side. Blood seeped through his fingers, hot and slick. His vision blurred, exhaustion and blood loss taking their toll. The remaining crew half-dragged, half-carried him back to the Ghost, alarms blaring as the Ithorian forces closed in. They wouldn't make it, Shaw realized through a haze of pain. Not like this. "Get to the escape pods," he ordered, his voice rough with pain. "Evacuate. Now." Arya shook her head, tears in her eyes. "Shaw, no, we're not leaving you." "That's an order," Shaw roared, summoning the last of his strength. "Go, live to fight another day." One by one they filed out, each glance back a silent farewell. Then Shaw was alone, the Ghost's bridge humming around him. He dragged himself to the pilot's chair, his blood slicking the controls. With a groan of effort he wrenched the ship around, setting a course for the distant glimmer of the star hammer. Ithorian ships swarmed like angry hornets, their weapons hammering at the Ghost's failing shields. Shaw ignored them, his focus narrowing to a single burning point. He opened a broadcast channel, his voice ringing out across all frequencies. "To the Ithorian Empire and all who serve it, hear me. I am Austin Shaw, last of the humans. You thought us extinct, but we have returned. You took my home, my people, my world. No more. This is your only warning. Run." With a final, defiant roar, Shaw overrode Ghost's core, pouring every last ounce of power into the engines. The ship bucked and shuddered, alarms screaming in protest. "Shaw, please," Ghost pleaded, its voice laden with emotion. "Don't do this." But Shaw just smiled, a peaceful expression settling over his blood-streaked face. "It's been an honor, Ghost." The Ghost shot forward, engines blazing like the heart of a star. It slammed into the star hammer like the fist of an angry god, piercing the platform's reactor core. For a single breathless moment, there was silence. Then the world turned white, a searing flash that outshone the stars themselves. The star hammer shattered, torn apart by the fury of its own power turned against it. The Ithorian fleet reeled, ships spinning away like leaves in a hurricane. Escape pods tumbled through the maelstrom, fragile bubbles of life amidst the destruction. And at the heart of it all, a single indomitable figure, wreathed in the flames of his own destruction. Austin Shaw, the last human, defiant to the end. The escape pods drifted aimlessly through the void, their occupants numb with grief and exhaustion. Arya stared blankly at the viewport, her eyes red-rimmed from tears shed for fallen comrades. Nox sat in stoic silence, his massive fists clenched tight. A shadow fell across them and they tensed, reaching for weapons. A massive ship loomed above, its hull marked with unfamiliar sigils. The pods shuddered as a tractor beam locked on, pulling them into a cavernous hangar bay. The survivors gathered, ready to fight to the last. The pod doors hissed open, revealing a sight that stole the breath from their lungs. Humans. A full contingent of human soldiers, clad in battle-scarred armor, weapons at the ready. At their head stood a grizzled commander, his face a map of old scars. "Welcome aboard the Retribution," he said, his voice a gravelly rumble. "I'm Commander Riker Hale. We've been watching you for some time." Arya found her voice first. How is this possible? We thought—" Hale nodded, a grim smile on his lips. "You thought Shaw was the last. So did the Ithorians, but they were wrong." He told them of the hidden human colony, survivors of Earth's fall, biding their time on a remote, uncharted world. For centuries they had built their strength, waiting for the right moment to strike. "Shaw's actions were the catalyst we needed," Hale said. "His sacrifice will not be in vain." The crew of the Ghost, their hearts rekindled with hope, joined forces with their long-lost kin. The retribution became the Phoenix, a symbol of humanity's unbreakable spirit. They sailed the stars, rallying the downtrodden and oppressed to their cause. Shaw's legend had spread like wildfire, a spark igniting the tinder of rebellion across 100 worlds. But the Ithorians would not relinquish their grip so easily. In their desperation, they unleashed an abomination, the apex predator, a genetically engineered super-soldier born from the DNA of conquered species, including human. The predator was relentless, a perfect killing machine. It hunted the Phoenix across the galaxy, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. The final confrontation was brutal. The Phoenix and its rebel fleet faced the full might of the Ithorian armada, a David against a Goliath. The apex predator tore through their ranks, unstoppable. Hale knew what had to be done. In a last desperate gambit, he confronted the creature alone, buying time for a devastating strike against the Ithorian flagship. The predator was destroyed, but at a terrible cost. Hale lay broken, his life ebbing away. With his final breath, he passed the torch to those who remained. "The flame of hope can never be extinguished," he whispered. "Carry on the fight for Shaw, for Earth, for all of us." The Ithorian fleet lay in ruins, their empire crumbling. Across the galaxy, the oppressed rose up, casting off their shackles. The crew of the Phoenix found themselves at the forefront of a new age, the rallying point of a free galactic order. But even as celebrations erupted on 1,000 worlds, a somber realization tempered the joy of victory. The price of freedom had been paid in blood, the blood of heroes, Shaw, Hale, and countless others, human and alien alike. Arya gazed out at the stars, Nox at her side. The fight was far from over, she knew. There would always be new threats, new tyrants to topple, but as long as the human spirit endured, hope would never die. The Phoenix turned its prow towards Earth, towards home. There was much to be done, a world to rebuild, a legacy to uphold. In the ship's heart, in the hearts of its crew, a flame burned bright. The flame of human resilience, of defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. The flame of Austin Shaw, the last human hero, whose sacrifice had reignited the fires of resistance and changed the course of galactic history. They were his heirs, the keepers of that flame, and they would carry it forward into the uncertain but hopeful future he had died to create. If you finished this story, please subscribe and like the video. Then leave a comment that says, "I like the story," and I will heart every single one of them. It really helps me. Thank you for your time.